To Japan now, where today we learn the fate of a missing 20-year-old American college student who vanished during a family vacation.
Every family vacation has a moment that does not go according to plan. A missed train, a restaurant that is closed, a disagreement over which direction to walk. Those moments are supposed to be the stories you laugh about later, the ones that become part of the family's shared language. Remember that time in Japan when we got lost? Remember when we argued about the map? Remember when everything went sideways for an hour and then came back together over dinner? But sometimes the moment does not come back together. Sometimes a 20-year-old walks out into a city to get some air, and the next time his mother sees his location on a tracking app, it is moving toward a mountain range she does not recognize at 6 in the evening in a city she does not know. And then the location stops moving, and then the location disappears entirely. And then 2 a.m. comes and goes, and nothing comes with it except the kind of silence that a mother who has trusted her son his entire life does not know how to interpret, because he has never given her a reason not to trust him before. A 20-year-old Auburn University student vanished during a family trip to Japan. 8 days later, volunteers found him in the mountains outside Kyoto. What happened during those missing 8 days is the question this family has been living inside since May 29th, 2026. And it is the question this episode is going to follow from the moment he stepped onto that train to the moment the volunteers found him on that mountain. Welcome to Crime Cipher. We decode the cases the headlines summarize and the truth the system leaves behind. Subscribe if you're new here. This one does not let go. Kyoto is one of the most visited cities in the world for a reason. It is the kind of place that justifies the flight. Ancient temples, bamboo forests, streets that have been walked for centuries. A city that holds more of Japan's history per square mile than almost anywhere else on Earth. For a family from Alabama arriving in Japan to celebrate a milestone, it is exactly the kind of destination that makes a long journey feel worth every hour in the air. The Higginbotham family from Hoover, Alabama arrived in Japan in late May 2026. They had been traveling for a week across the country: Tokyo, Nikko, Takayama, cities that build on each other the way a well-planned family trip is supposed to. By the time they arrived in Kyoto, they were deep into the kind of shared experience that families carry with them for the rest of their lives. A meal together, a walk around the city, a hotel to rest and regroup before the next day. But sitting just outside Kyoto's historic center is the Yamashina area, one stop from Kyoto's main station on 4 different train lines, a neighborhood that sits on the border between Kyoto and Shiga prefectures and is surrounded by the Higashiyama mountain range. From the train station, Yamashina looks manageable. It looks like the kind of place a curious 20-year-old with a love of the natural world would want to explore. What it does not announce from the station platform is how dense the forest becomes once you move away from the roads, how quickly the trails give way to terrain that does not forgive mistakes, how fast the light disappears in those mountains once the evening starts to settle. That is the geography this family walked into without knowing it would become the geography of the worst days of their lives. Nancy and Keith Higginbotham are parents from Hoover, Alabama, who planned a trip to Japan to celebrate their younger son's high school graduation. That is the kind of detail that tells you everything about who this family is before you know anything else about them. They did not send a card. They did not throw a party in the backyard. They took their children to Japan. They built a memory around a milestone the way parents do when they want their children to understand that the moments that matter deserve to be marked with something extraordinary. Their older son James went by Weston, 20 years old, a junior at Auburn University, a passionate environmentalist and naturalist who cared deeply about the planet in a way that was not casual or performative. It was the kind of care that shapes how a person moves through the world, what they read, what they study, what they object to. When the family was navigating Japan using ChatGPT for directions, Weston pushed back. He objected to the natural resources that artificial intelligence requires. That detail is not a footnote in this case. It is a window into who Weston Higginbotham was, a 20-year-old who cared enough about the environment to have that conversation with his mother on a family vacation in Japan. Not difficult, principled. His mother, Nancy, described him as an experienced traveler who often went exploring alone. She said she was not worried when he got on a train by himself during the trip because that was just Weston. He knew how to move through the world. He had done it before. She had always been able to trust that he would come back. That trust was not naive. It was earned across years of watching her son navigate the world with curiosity and confidence. He had about 10,000 Japanese yen on him when he left, approximately $62.50. His phone was at 34% battery. He was one stop from Kyoto's main station heading into the Yamashina area on the evening of May 29th. His parents were tracking his location location on Life 360 the way parents track children they love in foreign countries. Watching the dot move, watching it stop, watching it disappear. Nancy Higginbotham said turning off his location was alarming and so out of character. She said he had never turned off his location before. That sentence carries the full weight of what those first hours felt like for a mother sitting in a hotel room in Kyoto, watching a screen go quiet in a way it never had before. May 29th, 2026 started as another day of a family vacation that had already produced a week of memories. The Higginbothams were in Kyoto. They had enjoyed a meal together and walked around the city. The plan for the afternoon was a visit to a nearby temple, but Weston decided to explore on his own instead. He left the family and made his way to Kyoto Station. His parents watched his location on Life 360 as he boarded a train heading east toward Yamashina, one stop from Kyoto's main station. A short ride, the kind of distance that does not feel significant when you are watching a dot move on a phone screen in the same city. He arrived in Yamashina at around 6 p.m. The area sits on the border between Kyoto and Shiga prefectures, surrounded by the Higashiyama mountain range. Surveillance cameras captured Weston walking alone through the Yamashina area at around 8 p.m., heading in the direction of a hiking trail that led into the nearby woods. He was walking with the ease of someone who knew exactly where they were going. A young man with a lifelong love of nature and the outdoors, moving toward the mountains the way people who feel at home in wild places naturally move toward them. That was the last confirmed image anyone has of Weston Higginbotham alive. At some point between that 8 p.m. CCTV image and the hours that followed, his phone location disappeared from the Life 360 app. Nancy Higginbotham said the moment his location turned off, she knew something was wrong. Not a feeling, a certainty. The kind that only comes from knowing your child well enough to know what they would and would not do. Weston would not turn off his location. He never had. Therefore, when the dot disappeared from that screen, it was not a technical glitch or a dead battery. It was a signal, and his mother read it correctly. By 2 a.m., with no sign of Weston and no response to any communication, the family reported him missing to local Japanese authorities. Kyoto Prefectural Police launched a search operation immediately. More than 100 officers were deployed. K-9 units, helicopters. Search teams moving through densely forested terrain in the Higashiyama mountain range looking for a 20-year-old with $62 and 34% battery who had walked into those mountains at 8 p.m. on a Thursday evening. But the mountains were not cooperating. A typhoon moved through the area in the days following Weston's disappearance, bringing heavy rain and conditions that severely hampered search operations. Cadaver dogs could not be deployed for 7 consecutive days of rain. Teams were working in areas with waist-high mud. The terrain that had looked accessible from the train station was revealing itself as something far more serious to the people trying to move through it. Days into the search, Japanese police told reporters that it was highly probable Weston had left his family intentionally. That statement landed on his family like a second loss on top of the first. Nancy and Keith Higginbotham did not accept it. They knew their son. They knew that whatever had happened in those mountains was not a choice Weston made freely. They stayed in Japan. They did not go home. They kept searching. They kept posting updates. They described the Japanese authorities as incredibly thorough and dedicated. They expressed gratitude to strangers in a country that was not their own who were walking through mud and rain looking for their child. The family wrote publicly that based on what locals witnessed, they had great confidence in the professionalism and dedication of the Japanese authorities and did not believe any area within the search zone had been overlooked. That statement from parents in the middle of the worst experience of their lives says something profound about who the Higginbothams are. In the space of their greatest fear, they found room to acknowledge the humanity of the people trying to help them. But the official search ended after 72 hours. The police search was over. The family. When the official police search ended after 72 hours, Nancy and Keith Higginbotham did not pack their bags and fly home to Alabama. They stayed. They kept updating. They kept asking. They kept believing that the mountains outside Kyoto still had an answer they had not found yet. That is not the behavior of people who had given up. That is the behavior of parents who understood that going home without their son was not something they were capable of doing. The family reached out to volunteer search and rescue organizations, groups of people who give their time and their expertise to find the ones that official searches cannot reach. In Japan, where the mountains surrounding historic cities have claimed visitors, before these volunteer teams know the terrain in ways that official search grids cannot always account for. They know where trails disappear. They know where the forest floor gives way to ravines that do not show up on maps. They know how to read a mountain the way the mountain needs to be read. K, K-9 Jager and his handler Jim Lopez from the Georgia Emergency Search and Rescue Team were among those who joined the effort. Crews that had traveled to be part of finding a 20-year-old from Alabama in the mountains of Japan, because that is what people who do this work do. They go where they are needed regardless of the distance. The search continued through the first days of June. Rain delayed progress. The terrain slowed every effort, but the teams kept moving through the Higashiyama mountain range, searching the densely wooded areas beyond the Yamashina neighborhood where Weston had last been seen on camera. The same forest that had looked like an afternoon adventure from the train station was revealing itself meter by meter to be something that required everything these teams had. On Saturday, June 6, 2026, the answer came. Search and rescue volunteers located the body of James Weston Higginbotham in a mountainous area outside Kyoto, far from the train station where he was last seen alive. His mother, Nancy, confirmed the discovery on Facebook that morning. 8 days after he walked toward those hiking trails on a Thursday evening, a volunteer with a search dog found him in the mountains he had loved enough to walk toward alone. Angel Alonso with Georgia Emergency Search and Rescue said it was hard because of the outcome, but she was glad they got closure and that the family could now move forward. She said, "This is what we do. This is our job." Those words from someone who had just found the worst answer a family can receive carry the specific quiet dignity of people who understand what their work means to the people waiting for them to come back from the mountain. Nancy Higginbotham posted to Facebook and confirmed what every person following this case had been dreading for 8 days. Her son was gone. The family released a statement asking for privacy as they navigated the next steps. They thanked everyone who had prayed for them. They thanked the Japanese authorities. They thanked the volunteers. And then they asked for the space to grieve without an audience. That request from a family whose pain had been lived out publicly for over a week is the most human thing this case produced. They had shared everything with the world while there was hope. When the hope was gone, they asked for the world to step back. And they deserved that completely. 8 days. That is how long a family from Hoover, Alabama spent in Japan after their vacation became something else entirely. 8 days of updates posted from a hotel room in a foreign country. 8 days of thanking strangers for walking through mud and rain in mountains they did not know, looking for someone they had never met. 8 days of a mother watching a tracking app that had gone quiet in a way it never had before and refusing to accept that the silence was permanent until the volunteers came back from the mountain and told her it was. Nancy and Keith Higginbotham came to Japan to celebrate a graduation, a milestone, the kind of family moment that parents spend years looking forward to and children spend years not fully appreciating until they are old enough to understand what it costs to give it to them. They arrived with a week of memories already behind them. Tokyo, Nikko, Takayama, a meal in Kyoto, a walk around the city. Everything a family vacation in Japan is supposed to feel like. And then May 29th happened, and the celebration became a search. And the search became the worst 8 days of their lives. Weston Higginbotham was 20 years old, a junior at Auburn University, a young man who cared about the planet deeply enough to argue about it on vacation, who loved the natural world enough to walk toward it alone at 6 in the evening in a city he was still learning, who trusted his own competence in wild places the way people who have always been capable trust themselves. He was the kind of son a mother tracks on a phone app, not because she does not trust him, but because she loves him, and the world is large and Japan is far from Alabama, and 34% battery is not enough. His younger brother graduated. That is what this trip was for. A younger brother who finished high school and whose family took him to Japan to market. That younger brother came home from Japan carrying something no graduation gift was supposed to include. The memory of the country where his family went to celebrate and where his family left part of itself behind in the mountains outside Kyoto. The cause of Weston's death has not been officially confirmed. The full circumstances of what happened between 8 p.m. on May 29 and the moment the volunteers found him on June 6 have not been publicly released. What is confirmed is that the mountains outside Kyoto are not the mountains they look like from the train station. That the Higashiyama range is dense and forested and unforgiving in ways that 34% battery and $62 cannot fully account for. That a passionate naturalist who loved the outdoors walked into terrain that even experienced search teams with dogs and helicopters took 8 days to navigate in the worst weather conditions of the season. This family did not need a lesson. They needed their son to come home, and he did not. If this episode moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Not because it is cautionary, but because Weston Higginbotham deserves to be remembered as more than a headline about a missing American student in Japan. He deserves to be remembered as someone who cared about about the world enough to argue about artificial intelligence on vacation. As someone whose mother trusted him completely because he had always given her every reason to, as someone whose family stayed in Japan for 8 days because going home without him was never an option they were willing to consider. Subscribe to Crime Cipher so you do not miss what comes next. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what this case says about family and love and the moments that change everything without warning. Because the Higginbothams deserved a different ending to this trip, and the least we can do is make sure the world knows that. This has been Crime Cipher. We decode the cases the system hopes you forget. Until next time, hold the people you love a little closer. Because sometimes the most ordinary moment of a vacation is the one that changes everything.